This is the Jess Broadcasting Network on air, a podcast about trail and ultra running, but really, it's about becoming who you are meant to be. I'm your host, Jess Walhoff, inviting you into conversations about resilience, wonder, and the quiet magic of putting one foot in front of the other. Out on the trail, we learn to move our mountain, not by force, but by presence and persistence. And in that movement, we find joy in the journey.
Hey guys, welcome back to the JWBN On Air podcast. Today's episode, I'm going to do something that I think I'm going to start calling Coach's Corner. So just talking a little bit of coaching tidbit tips, sure, something like that. For those that don't know, I am a RRCA, Road Runners Club of America certified running coach. Again, a little bit of background. I do have a degree in exercise science, personal training certification, now the RRCA, Road Runners Club of America, certified level 1 running coach, but extensive knowledge and experience, obviously, with running, exercise physiology, all of that combined. So I do some coaching as well. If you want to check out the .jwbn on Instagram, or on Facebook, it's JWBN Moving Mountains Coaching. I also have a website. If you Google out the JWBN Moving Mountains Coaching, you'll find my website as well, and get a little bit of information if you're interested in any of that. But anyways, just talking a little bit about one thing in particular I want to talk about today for coaching is, and improving your running, is consistency. We live in a world of instantness. We have so much power just at the tip of our fingers, just this little phone here. You can do so much with this guy. Get pizza on demand, order anything from Amazon or across the world, sign up for races, all that fun stuff. But there's so much instantness, right at our fingertips. And I mean, that kind of goes into our social media as well, and what we're being fed through all of those algorithms of social media. My Instagram is just full of, not my friends' things, but full of running. And then all of those side jokes that my friend and I send memes of, then more of those types of memes show up too. But most of that, again, is running. And with all of that algorithm, a lot of it is just showing us success stories and highlight reels of people, which isn't a bad thing, but it kind of negates or neglects what's really going on behind the scenes. A lot of those highlight reel success stories, I'm going to call out the bros, things like Nick Bear and gosh, I'm going to forget any of these names because I don't really follow them on social media, but just a lot of highlights promoting races, doing hard things. I mean, there's the David Goggins and such like that. I think every generation or 5-10 year gap has their person that, everybody's following on social media, or persons or two. And again, it's a lot of highlight reels, success stories, neglecting what's going on behind the scenes. And again, you just get that instantness of them hitting their success or their strides, but not showing what's going on behind the scenes to get there. And that feed into our algorithms is kind of, making people think, hey, I could just sign up and run a marathon without any training, which you totally can do. You just might not like yourself after that. Or putting in the work that truly goes on to more than just successfully, but completing an ultra, not just successfully, but doing it well. I mean, because in the long run, we should maybe be in this for the long run. People have that, oh, I want to do Leadville, I want to do Western States, but they don't really know what it takes to get there, because all they're being fed in that algorithm is just those short success stories and not the behind the scenes work. And I think the biggest thing behind the scenes is just developing some consistency, because what is going behind the scenes specifically for us normal people, and not like the Max Jolifs or however you say his name, or even the Rachel Entrecans who get paid to do this and can run whenever, wherever they want. But for the normal people who are working a full-time job, they're navigating family life, but they're still completing ultras, and maybe more than just completing ultras, they're also competing in an ultra, whether that's 50K to 100 or 200 miles. And I think, one of the biggest factors to their ability to do that is consistency. And that's like one of the biggest ingredients for success. There's a quote out there, I think it was like attributed to Aristotle, but it's actually somebody else's quote summarizing Aristotle's works. But it's what we are what we repeatedly do. So excellence is then not an act, but it's a habit. And a lot of this philosophy is kind of based on character and not running. But if you know anything about running has a lot of parallels with life, intertwines with life. So I kind of am applying that phrase similarly to run coaching philosophy here. So if you want to stick with me or not. What that kind of means is that your success, with them, they say their identity comes from action. Who you are at your core is built by your daily routines. And it's not just that occasional grand excursion or grand gesture, but it's what you do repeatedly, day to day, throughout your day, is where your success builds off of. So from the ground, day-to-day habits. Also with that, success is a practice. It's you do something right once doesn't just make you excellent at something, it's doing it right over and over and over again, repeatedly, makes it a part of your nature and makes it who you are and what you're able to do, instead of just that one time running a marathon with some or little to no training, but just consistently putting in the work day in, day out, weekly, to be able to do that marathon, but then to be able to go into those ultra marathons and be able to do them well. And then habits also shape your identity. So running wise, small repeated choices compound over time, and those small repeated choices are what kind of shape your character, shape your success for running. So those just kind of three philosophies that come with that quote of we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. And so instead of saying excellence, I'm just using the word success. Success can be, again, what you define it, whether that's reaching the finish line before cutoff, whether that's achieving a new distance record, whether that's enjoying the run, or maybe that is winning the race. Again, everybody's is defined differently, but those kind of things those little bits of habits can help us, again, consistency can help us get to those goals of success, whatever your success is. You define your own success. So how does this apply to our training with running? Again, small things add up. There's a phrase I learned from Ed Thomas, and it was little by little, little becomes a lot. Small things slowly add up. One step becomes 2, becomes 100, becomes 100 miles. But this also goes into small things, not just running wise, but other things in our life. So our routines, whether our strength training, our recovery, and our runs, as long as the other things we're doing in our day-to-day life, all those little things, all those small choices we make throughout the day consistently adds up. So are we going about them correctly, consistently? Are we always getting the run in that's scheduled, or doing that strength training weekly, or recovering appropriately, getting consistent sleep every single night or most nights of the week to taking time to maybe stretch and warm up before a run. Those little things, again, kind of add up. With that, again, applying it to training, show up, just showing up. Consistency beats intensity. That phrase, consistency beats intensity, makes me think of that child's tale of the tortoise and the hare, where the rabbit obviously can outrun a turtle, but he goes out hard and then he decides just to take a nap and chill and do whatever, and the turtle just keeps going at it, and little by little, consistency, he takes over the rabbit and he wins the race. So again, consistency beats intensity. Keep showing up. You don't have to go 100% of the time, but you do have to show up regularly, or don't go 1,000% 5% of the time. Again, show up regularly. And another thing to apply to your training is just also with that consistency, you want to be careful of overdoing it. You don't want to force anything. There's a diagram I've seen out there, and I've used it for a couple of my clients when they kind of freak out about missing a run or not nailing a run or a workout perfectly, that it shows you all of the runs you had in your training block. So say you have an 18-week training block and your training block has 4 to 5 runs a week, and this is starting to be too much math. So let's make it a 20-week training block, 4 runs a week. There's 80 runs, or 100 runs if you're doing 5 runs a week. And you don't nail, let's say you got sick one day or 2 days. Family thing came up another day. This run just didn't feel good, so I cut it short. This run, I did it, but again, wasn't hitting paces or efforts. Again, this run wasn't that great either, or this one. I mean, maybe count on 1 or 2 hands the runs that didn't go 100%, or I mean, maybe on 1 hand the runs that you missed. But you put that in the lineup of the other 80 or 100 runs that you did, and you don't notice the difference at all between those runs. I mean, usually you'll say, hey, this is a key run, you got to get this key run in for your workout. But again, more, like I said before, consistency, repeatedly showing up versus nailing just that one run. And it all works out in the grand scheme of things. It's okay to miss a run for sickness or family things here or there. Don't beat yourself up over those. But at the same time, don't let a little bit of slack for being sick or being tired or taking some family time off. Don't let that become the habit. You want to stay consistent with your running, recovery, strength, all of those things. Don't let the slacking become a habit, but it is okay to take care of yourself and not force a run. So careful of overdoing it. Don't do it. Don't force things. And then, when you're trying to apply these things, it's kind of hard. I'm going to skip to my next part with how do we actually apply these, or how are we able to improve our consistency? Like, how do we get into the consistency instead of just the philosophy of it all? And that is step number 1. Improve your consistency by making a realistic plan and stick to it. If you can't fit 5 runs into your schedule, don't fit 5 runs don't make a training plan with 5 runs. Some of us have family lives or a crazy work schedule, and if you can't get 5 runs in that week, don't put 5 runs in that week. So make it realistic, achievable. Don't put a 5-hour run on your Wednesday if you have a 12-hour work day. Common sense to it. And maybe that also means you got to start small. Again, don't plan a 5-hour run if you haven't, or a 20-mile run if you haven't been running more than 3 to 5 miles. And if you haven't been running more than 3 to 5 miles a week, don't plan on a 20-mile week right away. Slowly build yourself up. So make it a realistic plan and stick to it. How do you stick to it? Maybe you're a person who needs a gold star, so you print out that sheet of your plan, and every day you accomplish what was on the plan, you give yourself a check mark, a gold star. There's certain apps out there too that you can do some tracking. Use that. Another thing is coaching. Coaching can help you develop that realistic plan and help keep you accountable to showing up. So whatever helps keep you accountable and also helps with a realistic plan. Two key things to help improve your consistency. Another thing is, again, showing up. I said this before, but you got to show up and do it. There are days I show up to the trail and I really don't want to do the run that I have scheduled. I don't think my legs want to turn that fast for a tempo. I really don't want to run these hills. I'm not feeling it today. But I always show up and at least start going through the motions. So go through a little warm up, then start running that warm up. And I tell myself, okay, you have to at least try at least one hill and see what happens, or try to start your tempo and see what happens. And I'm going to say 99.9% of the time I finish that run and it goes a lot better than I thought it was going to be, because I showed up and I gave it a shot, and your body knows what to do. Once in a great while, your body's like, yeah, this isn't it. And that's when you need to learn to listen to your body also and shut it down. But don't listen to your body at the start, it doesn't know what it's talking about. Try that warm up, try to get into the workout. If it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen. Sometimes you might feel rough yet, but you can still get through it, and that's okay. Sometimes you might need to lower the expectations of that run. Instead of hitting a tempo at a certain pace or effort, maybe you're like, yeah, this is going to be more of a steady state run, or maybe I'm going to take these into shorter intervals or break up my tempo or something like that to get through it. But you got to at least show up. That it's a thing. Another phrase I like is, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So you got to at least show up to the trailhead and put your shoes on and start bite by bite, footstep by footstep, and then see what happens. And you might be able to eat that whole elephant, or you might not be able to. But just take it one bite at a time, one step at a time. And then, like I said, shut it down if it's not going to work. And if it does work, hey, it works. None the worse. But then again, in that, kind of what I had said earlier, you need to give yourself a little bit of grace too with this all. If you're not able to make it, or you show up at the trailhead and the run doesn't go as planned, you got to give yourself some grace. You can't be 100% on 100% of the time. But you have to at least show up and try with that consistency. So a couple thoughts on that consistency there. And with that, to help you stay consistent, another thing is you got to think of your drive or your why. The day you don't want to show up to the trailhead and do that run or start that run, think of why. Why am I doing this? Why did I sign up for this race? Laying in bed, is that going to help me achieve my goal? Maybe you do need that extra sleep that day, but again, don't slack off. So think of your drive and your why to help with staying consistent. And some people I know might have like their whole backdrop on their computer, or something, notes everywhere in their bathroom, or whatever it is to help them, remind them of why they're doing these hard things, putting themselves through these hard things for this race. So think of your why to help you stay with your consistency when you don't want to show up. Why are you doing this? But then another part of that, big part, I think, with the consistency is you got to remember to enjoy the journey. If you're not having fun, is it worth it? Because if you're not having fun in the journey, are you going to actually have any fun on race day? So remember to think about the journey, having fun, because the journey, the process is I think more important than the outcome a lot of the times. And that's me a thing. Sometimes maybe the outcome is more important. I've yet to see that, but I think the journey and the process is more important. Because, you know, again, with the whole running intertwining with life things, that's just like life. You don't want to show up for some things, but you do anyway, because sometimes we don't have a choice. Or the other choice isn't that great. We won't go that deep. Anyway, so kind of summary wise too, is that there is, with this consistency, again, that instantness we have with social media and everything, there's like that whole phrase where you skip to the good part. With ultra running, especially with running, there is no skip to the good part. So that means relish the result when you are able to not skip to the good part, enjoy that process, or maybe not enjoy it, but put yourself through that process of consistently showing up for yourself. You're able to relish that result when you do put in the work, versus if you just sign up and show up for a marathon without work or effort. And then also, if you put yourself through all of that work, you might not be 1,000% wrecked when you reach the finish line. You might be a little bit more ready or willing to keep testing your limits, go the next farther distance, or retry this distance and do better at it when you actually put in some work behind it, because maybe the race didn't go as planned. I'm not going to say consistency is going to make everything 100% better and all of a sudden you're able to do whatever you want at your races, but it helps develop the habits that get you there. And if you do put in the work and maybe your race day doesn't go as planned because nutrition or weather or who knows what happens, I think there's a little bit more of a bounce back and willingness to go through it all again to find a different result than if things don't happen your way. You just might not show up or try again. And then again, the consistency just oozes into other parts of your life, with your work, with your family. You know, you start, if you're not already, start becoming a bit more dependable. You keep showing up even when the process and things get hard. You just keep showing up, and it just kind of gets ingrained into you. That's my theory on the no skip to the good part. You're in it for the suck and for the good parts, and just enjoy that process along the way. You know, it's not pretty, it's not perfect, it's not a highlight reel, but it is what is real. There is no skip to the good parts. And when you do that, when you don't skip to the good part, when you go through all of that suck, but also all of the wins along the way that you get to experience in that journey and that process, in doing so, if you just skipped to the good part, you would be missing some of the best parts of all. Some of the best parts happen in that whole process and in all of that consistency. And those best parts, I can't list them all because it's, again, just different for everybody, but those best parts might be nailing that one workout you had or that you didn't want to show up for. Finding the friends along the way and enjoying the time and conversations you have with them. Meeting new people, seeing new places because you've met new people. Again, building your fitness level because you did the strength training, because you did the workouts, and just growing as a person and individual with all of that consistency. You miss that if you just skip to the good part and just sign up, show up, and reach a finish line. You miss that process of the journey along the way. So in the end, again, this is all kind of in it again for the long run. I mean, yeah, sure. Some people want to just do the one marathon and be done. I didn't know what I was going to do when I did my first marathon. I'm like, oh, maybe I'll just do one and then that'll be that. And then here we are running ultras now. And that's completely fine if you don't want to do the marathon or the ultra marathons or the hundreds or whatever you do, whatever you want to do. But again, if you want to do something well, maybe feel a bit more accomplished at something, consistency is a huge key of that. And especially if you want to continue doing something throughout your entire life. I mean, I've had Brian Harms on here who's 67 going on 68, and how long he's been doing this. Again, the guy I mentioned last week, Rick and Dan, how long they've been doing this into their 70s. And a key thing when I hear about their stories is consistency. They're always doing something. I mean, running has pretty much been most of their lives, but they've had some time where they had to take off for running, whether that's injury or family life or whatnot, but they were still consistent in doing other athletic endeavors in life that they can continue running yet in their 60s and 70s. So if that's the kind of life you want to have when you're able to enjoy your retirement and still go on adventures and hang out with people who are 20, 30, 40 years younger than you, or have fun with your grandkids, make sure you're in it for the long run. Again, be consistent. And that's about it. That's all I got. 2 cents today on consistency. Go ahead, give this, if you like this, if you give me a thumbs up or a review or something, apparently that's supposed to help me. So go ahead, leave a comment, leave a like, something like that. Thank you guys for continuously tuning in. And hopefully in the next couple weeks, I'm lining some things up that we might have some guests on here so you don't have to just listen to me ramble and rant on some things. Again, thanks for tuning in, guys. Have a good one.
This has been a JWBN production. Thanks for listening.